let's get started. The first thing we want to do is type in Visual Studio Code Editor into a browser. And you can see we can go to the download page. Now I'm using Windows 10, so you can download whichever one you're using. So you can see here it's actually gone and downloaded this now, and I have an executable file, so you can click on the executable file. I'm not going to do this now because I already have it up and running. But once you've clicked on that executable, your code editor should look something like this. And congratulations, that's the first step finished. If you get any problems, you can always get in contact. So let's go and we will download the files from the resources section and set all of this up. Now if you go into the resources section, you will see a zipped file called Code the Machine Files. So if you download that and put it onto your desktop and then go into it and go Control C, go back to your desktop, Control V. Now this is going to download all of the files that I have already written for our CPU, and there's also a file there which is the executable for our Logisim, and that's the one here that's taken a little bit longer for us to download, but it should be downloaded just any second now. So that's us got the file structure that we need on our desktop. So let's drop into Code the Machine Files. Now there's a couple of files here and a few folders, but don't worry, it's quite easy to set it up, and I've got it set up both for Windows and for Mac. Now the first file at the bottom here is New Assembler 1, so this is the Python assembler and we can just leave it as it is. Now the next file here is called Assemble, and this is a little batch file, but I've written this for Windows. Now if you're using a Mac, then what you can do is you can get into Mac files and you can grab this assemble and you can copy it and you can paste it into this folder in order to overwrite this one. Now if I drop down into this assemble, we go edit, you'll see here that I have a path here. Now you will have to change the path depending on your machine. So in this instance my path is users ROS desktop. Now your path might have a different name here, so you'll have to adjust this path. Now the next thing to note here, if we get into this VS Code, you'll see here there's a file called tasks, and again this has been written for our Windows setup, but if you want to use Mac, then you'll replace this tasks file with the file which is in Mac_files. So you will replace it with this one. So copy this and then paste it into here. Now we've also got access to the Logisim executable file. So if we get in here, you'll see here we've got this Logisim evolution. So you can just double click on that and it will run up the Logisim executable file. Okay, so it will run up the software. You can also take a copy of this maybe and place it on your desktop. Now if I was to run this up, then it runs up pretty quickly. Usually. So that's it run up. Now what I can do is if I want to open up this file here. So this is the actual circuit file that we're going to run our simulations on. So we can go to File and we can go Open, and then we pick the particular file that we're going to open. So we go to our desktop and it's Code the Machine and it's in Logisim, and that's the file there. We go Open and that gives us access to the machine here. So that's us pretty much set up. One other thing is I've left access here for the actual Excel spreadsheet, which you will see mentioned throughout the course. So that's our basic setup. Let's go ahead and we will open up the Visual Studio Code editor and we'll see and test and make sure everything is working. Your Visual Studio Code editor should look something like this. Now if we click on File, Open Folder, and then we go up to our desktop and we find the folder which is called Code the Machine Files, and then we select that folder. So that's the file structure all set up. So if you notice here we have an ASM folder. So this is where we store all of our assembly language code. So ASM standing for assembly. So if we click on that, you'll see you've got access to all of my code which I have written for the machine. Now once we assemble the code, the assemble code goes into the MC file. So if you click on that, you'll see that we've got all of the code which has been assembled, and you can see that they've all got the .mc extension at the end. You'll notice also that we've got another folder here that's called fixed point. So there's a few extra bits of code in there which are handy for converting from floating point, fixed point to hex, and also hex back to fixed point. And you'll see that throughout the course. We've also got another folder there with a text file in it called ROM, which you'll see later on in the course as well. So that's pretty much everything. We're going to check and make sure that it does actually work and we can actually assemble a little file. So we'll just pick one out randomly. Okay, so if you click on here and we head down to, for example, end.asm. So if you click on that, it'll open up this little piece of assembly language. Now in order for us to assemble it, we click on Terminal, Run Task. Now if everything's set up properly, you should see this assemble file. So we click on that. You'll see here at the bottom it says assembly successful. So if you've got to this point, then that's you set up your Visual Studio Code editor and you're able to assemble all of the files. Now once that's been done, you'll notice that if we go down to the MC file, MC folder, and you go to the MC, end.mc, and double click on it, you'll notice that this is the actual assembled file here. So if you click on this little box here in the top right hand corner, you can see it gives us both of the files side by side. So this is the assembly language and this is the assembled code. So this is the machine code which we're going to load into the machine. So let's load this into the machine and watch it running. Now if we go into the Logisim folder and then we open up the application Logisim Evolution, so we double click and it'll run up the application, and then we want to open up the actual file, so we go to File and Open, and we have to find the actual folder for it. So it's going to be in Users, ROS. In this instance here it's going to be my desktop, and it's under the Code the Machine Files, Logisim, and this is the the actual circuit file is called 3060. So if we open that up, then your circuit should look like this. Now the first thing we have to do is reset it, so we click on Simulate, Reset, and then we click on the Reset button over here. So I usually give it 2 or 3 little clicks. Now we want to load the code into the computer, so we go to Computer, we right click, View CPU Motherboard, and we want to load the code into the RAM. So this is a RAM here, so we right click, Edit Contents, and at the bottom of the screen here you'll see Open. So you click on Open, and we have to go to the folder. So the folder we have to go to is the machine code folder, so it's the .mc. So we click on .mc, and then we find our file. So the file was called end, so that's the end.mc. We open that up, and you can see it's put all of the code into the machine. So we can close that, and you can see the code over here. We can go to Design, User Panel, and now we're ready to run the simulation. So we click Simulate, and we go Tick Enabled. And that's it, ran the simulation. It put 3 in, it put 5 in here, 3 in here, it added both together, and it put the answer in here, which is a value of 8. And you can see the little red light has come on, so that's it actually ran through the code. So if your setup is all right, then you should be able to now write your own assembly language code and load it into the machine. Of course, you'll have to watch the rest of the course, and as you work through the course, all of this will become quite familiar and quite simple for you to understand. So if this is the kind of thing you're interested in, then why don't you get the course, and you can write all of your own code, and you can watch it running on the CPU. Thank you for listening. I'll get you on the next video. Goodbye.